Good afternoon, everyone. I know some of us are still coming in, but I think we're going to get started, if you don't mind. So I'd like to turn it over to President Becky. Becky, thanks for being here. We hope you're feeling better.
Thank you. And thank you all for being able to come at our revised schedule, because there was just no way last week. Let me just put it that way. There's a nasty stomach thing going around, and I hope that I am the only one on this campus that gets it, because it's not good. But anyway, thank you all for being here this afternoon, and for giving me an opportunity to talk with you about the things I was going to talk with last week, and then we'll move into questions and answers after that. So I have to have like two pieces of technology here going at the same time, so this kind of probably exceeds my skills. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit about, essentially what I feel my first 6 months here have been like and what I've been doing with my time. So I have had a ton of meetings. I have met with individuals, I have met with groups, I have met with big groups, I have met with little groups, I have met with people from the community, I have met with our students of all different backgrounds. And it has been an amazing experience to listen to the story of, where and how people got to Santa Fe Community College, what people feel are, especially the strengths of Santa Fe Community College, how proud people are to work here, and what we've done. And one of the things that has been kind of an overwhelming takeaway for me is the resiliency of people at this college. I don't know a better word for it than resiliency, because, as I've told you before, I knew a little bit about things that, had happened here over the years with finances and leadership and things like that. Everybody in the state knew. So it was no secret, let me tell you. But to really hear from individuals about how that impacted each of you on personal level, as well as the way that people were able to and chose to continue on and to continue working here, I have nothing but admiration for that. So let me just tell you how really, really impressed I am with that. And it makes me even prouder to work here and to work with all of you. So, as a result of a lot of those meetings, of course, there were certain problems that came up, and I think people know about that. And, I think right away I started hearing problems that people had some challenges with HR and everything. So I thought, okay, well, boy, that sure does come up a lot. And I don't even ask about it. People just say, oh, and HR is not working. That's not a good sign. It's one thing if I prompt you to, tell me what you don't like. So I've studied organizational charts a lot. I looked at our organizational chart a lot, the evolution of our organizational charts from our peers across the state, our peers in other states, where I came from and everything. And so that has been part of some of the recalibration that I have decided to move forward with at this point. Most of that has already occurred, and so you all know about that with what we've done in human resources. And I do want to say too, I don't know if Joanne and Michelle are here. I haven't seen them in here, but yeah, there they are. So. Oh, Michelle's sick. We should have given her more of those Clorox things in her office. So there's nothing that you can do, I think, to make a movement like that not chaotic, even though I tried to make it thoughtful, orchestrated, low-key as much as possible. For Joanne and Michelle, it was not that way. And so I really want to thank you all for stepping up and continuing to step up every day and helping us move forward with HR in a much, much, much different and much better fashion. So thank you, and please convey that to Michelle too. So, as you all know, Human Resources now has a new interim director, Donna Wright. So the first thing that we did was we had an interim director, Yash Morimoto, who was not an HR person, but graciously agreed with some prompting to go in and help kind of hold things together, because we had to follow up on some complaints that we had. There are just daily issues that come up with HR, and provide some support to the staff that were there. So that was at the beginning, a temporary solution. We needed to move out of that as quickly as possible, and so we have hired Donna, who is a true HR professional, and so she is helping us get to the next phase of where we would like HR to be. So we're looking at, as you can see there, looking at hiring new staff in those areas. So there have been positions that have been posted. We also have a new interim person, and I know your last name is Maish, right? Peg. Sorry. We haven't actually met face to face yet, so it's good to meet you, Peg. And thank you for being here. But we still have work to do on training and onboarding. But you all do know that we have instituted a series of some trainings that will just continue to get more and more robust. So thank you to Chris Sweden and Continuing Education for starting the sexual harassment training and also the safety training that's been ongoing. And so if you haven't gone to that, I encourage you to go as soon as you can, because it really is good. I mean, no one is usually very excited to go to things like that, but I thought it was really helpful and very informative. So the other piece that has happened is that Human Resources has moved from reporting straight to the president to reporting to the Vice President for Finance and Administration, Nick Tejas. That is a much more, I would say, normal structure to have that position report to finance. There are some clear alignments between finance and HR that are much more easily achievable by having that reporting structure to Nick. So that is one of the things that has changed dramatically with having a restructure in that area. In the Office of Information Technology, so everybody knows Jeremy Lovato has gone off to work for the great state of New Mexico. And we now have Corey Bergen as our interim CIO. So we're very fortunate to have Corey at the helm in this area. Corey's been very involved in all of the big projects in IT up to this point, including the state ERP project. So I feel really confident in her leadership, and I think she's very much up to the challenge and excited to be doing this. So in addition to, the Corey change just happened. That wasn't any kind of plan of mine. The plan was not to kick Jeremy out the door or anything like that. That just happened. So I guess I should make that clear. But we were looking at enhancing security in the Office of OIT. So Corey is doing some internal restructuring to enhance security. This is probably the key element for IT right now going forward. Our auditors are really big on this, so we will be working to make sure that the structure of our OIT department really does reflect our enhanced focus on security, and then also focus on the enterprise resource planning project, which is also a statewide initiative. So what's changed is that plant and operations is now reporting to finance. And again, one of the things that I thought was kind of an odd structure was having facilities, which we are in the process of changing the name to facilities, which is kind of an upgrade from plant, which does sort of have a little bit of an antiquated ring to it. And so Henry and I discussed the idea of moving that, changing the title. But plant and operations will move under finance too, so that there can be some increased efficiencies among those groups. The money flows to the projects, and sometimes it's easier when everybody's working in the same room on a lot of those projects. And so I expect this to be something that makes everybody's life a little bit easier. And Henry's title will be changed to Associate Vice President for Facilities and Management. Is that right? facilities operation and management. Thank you for bringing me into the 21st century there, Henry. Because plant is old. And the other thing, and this is a change too, to bring about increased efficiency because of some other initiatives that we're looking at that I'll mention in just a second. The Santa Fe Small Business Development Center will also report to finance, not the state Small Business Development Center. I will still oversee that, but the local Small Business Development Center, which is currently housed at the HEC, will report to Nick also. So a lot of the reason for that is that we're looking at the way our innovation enterprises are working, and working with the community more on training for in both the non-credit contract realm as well as for credit training to really meet the needs of our community in a really timely fashion. All of these pieces fit together, and so I think under Nick's leadership we're going to see a little bit more alignment in all the pieces that have been probably working a little bit too much in separate lines. So in terms of the legislature and where we're looking with our legislative priorities, so as I told you all a little bit earlier, everybody, all three of our state associations, 2 years and 4 years, are asking for a common legislative request, which is kind of earth-shattering, even though it sounds like that's the way it ought to be. That is the way it ought to be, but it's kind of earth-shattering because that's not the way we do. So obviously one of the things that we are all working on with the governor right now is the Opportunity Scholarship. The details are still in flux on this scholarship. So one of the things that we're continuing to discuss are some of the criteria for eligibility and trying to expand that as much as we possibly can. The goal is for as many of our students to be covered as possible. You know, our goal is for all Santa Fe Community College students to be able to attend without achieving any debt. I mean, I realize that's a lofty goal. The flip side of that is that I hate to see anybody feel like they cannot come to Santa Fe Community College because finances are an obstacle. We need to find better ways to connect with students in that situation so that we can connect them with the myriad resources that we have both through the college and through the foundation to be able to come. I think most of the time when people feel that way, they are not aware of what we have to offer, and so it's incumbent upon us to make that clearer. One of the things that, so one of the other big operations that we have through the legislature this session is a technology ask that we are extremely aware is part of a long game. To secure money for a technology and enterprise resource planning system, which is really just the framework for what the New Mexico Independent Community Colleges refer to as shared services. So this all started really as kind of a weird conversation about governance. And you guys probably remember, you know, that a couple of years ago there was a lot of talk in the state about governance. And so what NMICC thought is that we are too loosely organized, but we want our independence. We want our autonomy. We are all unique as colleges, and we're really fierce in our independence, and nothing should ever, you know, change that. But there are times when we either lose positions or we just don't have the capacity in certain areas where it would be really nice to be able to reach out to one of our peers in NMICC and say, hey, can you lend us somebody who can provide some expertise in our registrar's office because, you know, we need additional help. Or somebody says to Santa Fe, you know, can you help somebody in Farmington with this? We are all very willing to do those things, but the problem is because even though most of us have Banner, our banner has been customized beyond recognition to where no one can just go help somebody somewhere else without, you know, like 3 months of training or something there, and that doesn't, you know, then that kind of defeats the purpose. So the initiative for all this is not just, hey, we want a new computer system. It's about creating improved efficiencies and processes that have to do with a lot of our backroom processes that do not define our individuality. Purchase orders don't define our individuality, hopefully. Think it's bad if they do. Nick's like, no. but that's how we can focus on making processes like that more efficient. So we are continuing to approach legislators with this, and continuing to have this conversation, because there's kind of a tricky educational piece to all of this, and so we will continue working on that to to see if we can take that conversation to the next level. A couple of other really important things that we have going on that are, key pieces in planning for our future. So we have hired Dr. Peter Winograd to coordinate our strategic planning for us going forward in this next cycle. So, no, that is not Peter Winograd. That is Pedro, not Peter. I can think of what Peter Winograd might say, but I will not speak for him. So, anyway, we all know that Julie Gallegos is taking on our Title V project for the next few years. And so Peter is going to coordinate strategic planning with Julie's, guidance and Yasha's guidance. So he will be on campus very soon, meeting with a lot of people, like all of you. And he will be scheduling lots and lots and lots of different meetings in smaller groups, some bigger groups, but I know he wants to meet with faculty groups in, like department level groups. He wants to meet with, different student service level groups. He wants to hear everybody's concern. And a lot of his groundwork involves kind of getting a feel for our campus climate, what people feel like is important, what we feel like is working, what we feel like is not working. He has lots and lots of experience in this area, and I feel like he has a very good sense, and he will have an even better sense when he's finished with this project, of who we are, which is really critical. So I feel like he is a very solid choice for this particular project. I have already enjoyed working with him the couple of weeks that I've been working with him, and I think you all will like him too. He worked as a policy director in education at UNM for a very long time before he retired to do whatever he wanted to do, which is only take on the projects that he's interested in. Someday, maybe we'll all be so fortunate. And then the other project that I feel like is such a tremendous opportunity for us is the new Title V project. So it's always great to get a Title V grant. But the opportunities that we have in front of us, I think could really move us forward several levels. So the first project involves student success. And it involves continuing the work and enhancing the work in guided pathways that Colleen Lynch and her team have already been working on. I think most of you know that our board is interested in this project. And so when I started, paying more attention and listening to what we've already done in this area and what the plan is going forward, it's really impressive. And there's been so much work done. And I have so much hope for what this project is going to accomplish in terms of getting our students on a clear path, giving them a much smoother way to graduate, and helping get them where they want to go. And then, they have a little bit more forgiveness if they change their minds somewhere along the way, which we know they often do. So the other piece of the Title V project is online infrastructure and online professional development and online training and things like Quality Matters. So when I first came here too, I started asking around and asking a lot of questions about online education and what we do and why we don't do more than what we do. And one of the first things that I figured out is that we don't really support it. And so that makes every sense in the world to me about why we don't do any more than we do, because no one gets paid to develop a class. And I wouldn't develop a class if you didn't pay me. So we're going to look at how we can reestablish those structures, because that is really our potential for growth. It's a different world. I used to be the biggest online skeptic you could probably find. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was never going to work. We needed to have people in front of us, and I was one of those people that liked to lecture. I was educated by people that liked to lecture. I still like to lecture. Nobody lets me teach anymore because of that, so whatever. But so much has changed in the online environment that it is fascinating. And so I have not done all those really cool things, but if somebody were to take a teacher like me who doesn't have very good technical skills and show me how to implement those kinds of strategies into my class, then I would do it. And I would be happy to do it if somebody kind of did it for me. I mean, mostly did it for me, but with me telling them what I wanted. That's the way it ought to be. I mean, we shouldn't all have to learn, whatever the new thing is that, that we have to learn. And we have to structure development for faculty so that it is not just easy, but something people want to do. And then our classes can have that robust level where, when I hear people say, well, our students like interaction, I have seen interaction in online classes that I am pretty sure surpasses most face-to-face classes, because there are people in face-to-face classes who will never say a word, ever, ever, ever. And they will talk to you 3 times a day online, whether you like that or not. So we have so much opportunity here, and I'm really, really excited about what we're going to be able to do. And we have to keep this going. This can't just be something that Julie gets us all excited about for Title V, and then boom, we're done, and we don't do it anymore. It has to be something that's sustainable, and we figure out a plan to go forward and keep it that way and keep doing that. And then the final thing that I want to mention, there are a lot of pieces to Title V, but I'm really excited too about adding case management in a more visible way to what we're doing in student services, because we all know anybody who has had any kind of interaction with our students, you don't know, you have to be a teacher to know this, that our students end up dropping out or stopping out or whatever because they have all kinds of issues way beyond academic issues that they don't know what to do about. And so if we have somebody who's a point of contact who can help them connect with those resources, then perhaps we can help them with their child care issues and even their transportation issues and things like that that are preventing them from being successful. So that's what we can do with Title V. I think you all know that we're right smack in the middle of our practice accreditation visit. So there's Jill. So I'm going to keep this pretty short and simple because I like the way Jill talks about this is treating the visit today and tomorrow, but really the official visit in February, like we have guests on campus. So we want to absolutely put our best foot forward. We want to be honest. We're not going to try to cover up and act like everything's perfect, because that is not the case anywhere in any college. But we want to really showcase what we're doing well. And there is so much that we're doing well. So I want us to be able to work as a team, to have the college's best interest at heart, and to really, really show the accreditors what we're doing well. To pull out all the stops. I think Jill says get out the good china and everything, that kind of thing. So, when we did this in Clovis, our campus never looked better. Things that hadn't been cleaned in 10 years got cleaned. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about. Things that really demonstrate pride in Santa Fe Community College and who we are and what we do for our students. So, those of you, everybody should be pretty involved in so the visit now is to give us all an opportunity to practice for the real deal and to learn a little bit more about the difference between the transition between being an AQUIP and a Pathways school, which if you've talked to these people, you have, believe me, heard that speech. So what are we going to do going forward? So we've talked about being on the same page, working as a team. That's a hard thing. I mean, everybody says that, and it sounds like, of course, we're on the same team. We all believe that we're on the same team. But then when you get into your daily, the daily jobs that we all have to do, it's sometimes hard to feel like you're working on the same team. But if we all have a commitment to try to do that, I think we're much more likely to get farther along. And I've talked about trusting each other before, and I think that it's important that we all be willing to trust each other. Now, if you feel like you've reached a point where you can't, then we have to talk about that. But, and to, maybe give people the benefit of the doubt until you feel like you can't. So I look at it sometimes as, what we want to do is we want to create a more student-centered environment for our students. We want everyone to feel welcome here. But that's not just about students. If we don't treat each other well, and if we don't all feel welcome ourselves, it's very difficult to convey that attitude to students. I would say you really can't very well. So it's kind of like, when you fly and they tell you that you're supposed to put your own mask on before you put your kid's mask on, or whoever you're traveling with. Let's use that metaphor for a minute. So we have to take care of ourselves as individuals and collectively as the people who run Santa Fe Community College. And if we can do that, then we will be able to reach out to our students and offer them the best. We have to help each other become the best that we can be before we can help our students become the best that they can be. And then we can go on to achieve all those things that we have on our list of great things to accomplish. Thank you all for being here today. Thank you for everything that you do for Santa Fe Community College. Thank you so much for what you have, the hospitality that you have shown me, the friendliness that you have shown me, your willingness to help me when I'm wandering around trying to find out where I'm going when, I just came from that place so you'd think I'd know where I was going. But I'm very directionally challenged inside. Outside, I'm way better, but not inside. But I have been overwhelmed with the support that I have felt since I have been here. And so I want to thank all of you for helping me to become part of Santa Fe Community College and for everything that you do. So I'm going to end now, and we are going to have a time for questions, except that I do need to say one thing from Chris Sweden. That there are 2 mandatory trainings for all faculty and staff taking place tomorrow and next week, the prevention of sexual harassment and basic safety training, and there will be sign-up sheets as you leave. So we are really serious about this training now. We didn't do it for a long time, and now we are doing it. So again, thank you, and I'd be happy to take any questions. I think Laura is the microphone person.
Sorry, we just have the one mic.
Hi. So with Jeremy's replacement, what will happen to the programs that he had helped spearhead? So last semester he had brought a select group of students to participate in a tournament with the other colleges, and I'm wondering if those programs will now be dissolved or will be brought in with Corey's leadership.
We have talked, Corey actually talked to us, Corey talked about those programs, and Jeremy and I, we've had a conversation about that, and the intent is to go forward and to try to enhance what we're doing, because we all feel like the esports project is really worthwhile, and it does provide a new opportunity for students. So any suggestions you have and how to improve that would be great. Marcy.
Hi. I'm really interested in the Opportunity Scholarship, and I was kind of following it a little bit in the New Mexican, and I'm curious if we think that it'll impact how much the legislature gives to higher ed institutions, if they're gonna shrink how much they give to the colleges in order to foot the bill for that. And I think it's a really good idea, so I don't want to but I'm just curious if you have any ideas about how it might affect other.
Well, I can assure you that I have had that very same chain of ideas through my head. So right now, the proposals for overall state funding for higher education, we think are kind of low, and so we're going to work to get those up. We think the compensation level is low. They did agree, for the most part, to change the mechanism by which they fund compensation, so that when they say you're getting a 3% raise, they're actually giving us the full 3% raise for everybody. And they did not used to do that. And so that's better. We're moving in the right direction. This project, this is one of the governor's key pieces of legislation. I think everybody feels like there is tremendous, I don't want to say opportunity for this opportunity scholarship, but you see what I mean. But that there's tremendous potential for this scholarship. And one of the things that they're asking us to do is to enhance some of our supportive services, because if we bring in students who might not have otherwise been thinking about going to college, then the likelihood for us to have to support them with tutoring and some things like that is pretty high. So the foundation has agreed to raise an additional $50,000 to support that effort. So that, thanks to Deborah and her staff, because that's a huge thing. There's no way to say no, that doesn't have any impact. I don't know that it directly had an impact, but the pie is finite. And even though it's bigger than it's been in some years in the past, it's still finite. And I think that there is a necessary idea among a lot of legislators that we do have to, be careful and make sure that our reserves are high enough, because I think everybody thinks that this is not going to go on forever. And but I know that the higher education department has really tried to have an accurate accounting for what they think the cost of this scholarship is going to be. And the way that we're asking for our money, the two are not related. So we have not had any kind of input into that dollar amount. We're talking more about what are the parameters of the scholarship, who should get it, that kind of thing. So in some ways, the answer to your question is no, they're not really related. Now, to the governors, to the people who are making the budget, I'm sure, yeah, they're related. It's all money. It is a tricky balance. I would agree.
We have a question here from Bobby.
Good afternoon. Can you give us an update on the status of the Veterans Resource Center, how we're doing, and what are the plans for the leadership?
We have an interim director now who is doing an extremely good job. She is a veteran herself. Is she here? She's probably down there helping veterans right now. And somebody escaped, her name escaped. Crystal Patton. I met Crystal. We had Crystal put on a really, really good veterans recognition ceremony around Veterans Day. Crystal is doing a really good job. And so she is serving veterans, and I feel like we have chosen the right person. And so she will be functioning in that role until we find a permanent person. I'm assuming Crystal will probably apply for that job.
Dr. Ali, thank you. My colleagues, staff, faculty, I'd like to thank you all for everything you do. Dr. Ali, I'd like to thank you for everything you do. And I would like to especially thank you for showing flexibility with our schedules and our student schedules. A lot of our students are, we have certain age groups here. We have pockets of age groups here. We're not a specific college for one specific age group. We have many age groups here, and some are from Albuquerque, some are from Las Cruces, some are from, or not Las Cruces, Los Alamos. Yeah, that's a commute.
Probably do.
But I think it's
Expand our online courses, you'll have a lot more.
yeah, I think it's wonderful that we're starting to supply that training for our faculty. So because technology is such a big thing in our day and age, where students, that really is their only source of education, is to do it over online. So I think it's really wonderful. How do you think that will boost enrollment, if it will?
It is likely to, because I think that, our tuition is low. And all of the state schools in New Mexico are low relative to the rest of the nation. But we are low. The out-of-state tuition at Santa Fe Community College is lower than a lot of states' in-state tuition. So if we can have like an associate of liberal arts that we can market, then we will have students who will sign up with us from all states across the country. We participate in the Sarah Interstate technology piece, so that we're authorized to offer courses in any state in the United States. And so we will have students who will find us. I don't know how they find us, but they find us. And what they do is
That couldn't be marketing.
I'm sorry. What I was thinking was that where I came from, we didn't even market that, and they found us. So if we market like we do here in a really clear way, I think we can expect that we would see an increase there. And it's kind of what happens. There's the population of Santa Fe is growing, but we're not in a metropolitan area. So to assume that we're going to be able to expand our enrollment by leaps and bounds with the people in Santa Fe, I mean, it's not going to that much. So when you really want to look at what other colleges have done, and I think that there is a huge market for us, is to reach out beyond even New Mexico. And I think we can do that, but not without the support for people who want to teach those classes and even provide the kinds of ancillary student support services that we have to provide to every online student. So you can't just provide, you can't just have a lot more online classes without making it really clear that, like people in the library know that when somebody calls from Ohio or something like that, that, you handle reference questions that way. Just like you probably do now, but you could do it a lot more. Okay. Anybody have any more questions? And again, if there's anything, Dylan. Dylan's got questions. And again, to those of you who've come by to talk to me and introduce yourself to me, I really appreciate getting to know you. And I apologize sometimes if I look at you and I call you by the wrong name or something like that. You can ask my colleagues in Clovis. I could do that with somebody that I've worked with for 25 years. So do not take it personally. But please come by if you have something that you'd like to talk about and an idea that you might have or whatever. I'd love to hear about it. Again, thank you for coming today. Thank you for your questions, and thank you for all that you do for Santa Fe Community College.